Well, today didn't go as planned. We only traveled half the distance. Alright, it's open. It has a little pocket that slides over that way, so I can access it. I was missing a screw, and that's why I had so much trouble getting it accessed, but that's the top of my fuel tank. We should remove those off, and we can get into the fuel tank and see if we have clogged filters. That'll tell us farther where we're at on what's going on. I may have to get a file out and file some quarters down to make the mod to make sure the things are running, but I'm hoping this is it. That was a very big one. You see I broke off a bolt, so that's why I'm thinking there's algae, maybe some moisture in there because that bolt got broken off. I might try to drop a self-tapper in there. I just found the things for doing this the other day. I don't know where they're at, but we will go from here. Alright, the screws are off. Let's see if this is the source of... I'm going to have to take this off. Guess I'll have to take those off too. Alright, using the camera to do. I can't see. Look at that sun come up. Just now coming over the horizon. Early morning time. You can almost see it come up, can't you? Every time I'm sitting here recording, you see the sun come up. That's gorgeous. Anyhow, I'm gonna see if I can get into the mechanic's office. It's running, but I still think it has a lack of power issue, so I am going to just go have them mess with it. And then, I gotta go lock up everything in the back. Trying to do too much at once, I think. Alright. We had the mechanics look it out. All that was $110. Well, $100 actually. And they said it was just a loose cap on the fuel bowl, which I don't know if I fixed it by replacing the fuel filter last night or not, but they went ahead and double checked it, and they said they checked it out and they got it up to 65, so they said it's good to go. We're gonna go. This is sooner travel, sooner something, and they got it going. We're hooked up, everything's checked. We're gonna go try it. I'm gonna go up north side of town and try it before I get on. Actually go west and then over. I had some work done. For some reason my oil pressure gauge is no longer working now. My temperature gauge is not working, but you know I have oil pressure because my injectors are firing on this, so I know I have that. So I don't know if it got unplugged. I'm not going to do that on the side of the road here. I'm going to keep going. There has to be oil here, so it has to be just a gauge that's unhooked. It's dead. It's not moving at all. So here we go. Also, there's a little hesitation. I can get up. I have the power back into my system, but there's a little hesitation, a lot of bumpiness. I'll probably just go ahead and buy me a fuel filter for it, or a fuel pump for it too. make sure that, and I'm going to go through and see if I can find it. But I'm a little annoyed about that gauge not working. I need that to be working. Temperature gauge, I also would like it to be working too. But we're going to go and keep going. Just recording audio for the sound of the motor. When I get on it, it has a little power, but it starts sucking down the gas. This is every now and again. Whenever I put it halfway, it starts tick, 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 tick. Today didn't go as planned. We traveled half the distance. We got an hour away from the house, and we started going up a hill, which shouldn't have been a big deal for this. I've been bouncing between 60 and 55 because I'm towing. And we went up a hill, and I didn't have any power. It was like I had absolutely no power, and then it's like, okay, I'll pull over and check out everything. Everything looked okay. The truck was still in neutral. Everything was fine, and it's like, well, I'll just get on the interstate, and I go to get on the interstate, and it's like I can't get up to speed. Normally, if I hit the gas and if I floor it, it'll just go. I'll get up to 60. So I was like, okay, what's going on? What I work on last? So I got me into Perry, Oklahoma. There's a little gas station. I pulled off, and it's like, all right, check the oil. Oil's good. Check the transmission fluid. Oh, I have no transmission fluid. So I was like, oh, I'm low. So I realized I didn't have a funnel, and after messing with it for a while, I had to go in and buy a funnel. Then I had to mess with it some more because that funnel didn't fit the very small hole that it went in. And I poured all of it down in there. It's like, okay, it looks okay now. Start it up, run it, and it won't get above 40. It won't get above 40. And it's like, okay, well, then I'm going to go down to O'Reilly's and get some more ATF fluid, and we'll check it there. I get down to O'Reilly's, check it, there is no ATF fluid in it again. It's like, okay, so I had a bunch that leaked out whenever I did the E-brake or Z-brake on here. It had a lot of it leak out the rear end. It's like, okay, well, and there's no, as far as I can tell, seal there. The actual Z-brake is the seal of the transmission fluid. It's like, alright, so it's probably just this, you know. I filled up, I put 3.5 quarts in it to bring it up to where it's at, and that's where it's at right now. And I was like, okay, it's fine. I'll just limp it down to the next spot and just see how it does. And you know, I thought maybe I was in limp mode. You know, the rig was limping along. You know, the low oil in it. I was looking on it, and it's like you'd have a code. I have no code. I just have lack of power. So I come down to this gas station on the southwest side of town. And I start calling mechanics because, like, oh crap, something major's happening and I'm not ready for it. Everything's spread out. And this guy here at this gas station on the southwest side of town said, well, his mechanic will be there in the morning. And it's like, it can be, you know, we're getting a lot of people with gel. It could be one of your fuel filters. It could be this and that. I'm getting a lot of people with fuel filters. And I was like, okay, well, I could drive the truck down there and get a fuel filter. So that's what I did. I drove down to O'Reilly's again, left the ambulance here, and got a fuel filter on the engine. Got a new one of those. And I just got done replacing it, which is the task to do it. And I did dig out all my tools in both at the front and the back. And started up after doing it. It's running. It sounds okay. It has a little mist to it. It's okay, it has a little mist to it. And then it just dies. And it's like, oh crap, it's still doing it. It was like, you know, I'll just leave it unhooked from the pickup and I'll drive it down there. So I drove it down there. It's like, still not quite, I mean, it's better than it was, but not great, but kind of great. I know that doesn't really make sense, but so I was like, okay, what else could it be? So I started looking at fuel problems. Like, Well, it can be a fuel filter, but here's how you do it. If you turn the ignition to the on like 2 or 3 times and let it charge up everything, and the problem goes away, you know it's the fuel, something in the fuel system. There's also the quarter mod that you can put on the top of your wiring harness going to your injectors. But that's after I mess with this. So right now I am into my axis that I have in my floor, and I'll show you. This is my floor, this is my subfloor, this is where all my tanks are kept, where everything's nice and warm. It's where my gray tanks, my pumps, all my accessories and batteries and everything and toilet stuff is kept all below floor. It's all heated. This is where all the PEX line comes through, and this is the main thing that heats it. When this is nice and hot, the rest of me get hot. So if I'm hot up above, I know this is hot down there, and I have future plans to monitor it. But whenever I built this ambulance, I created a little access hatch over the top of the I didn't think I'd need to be in here again, so I fixed it all up so it was all sealed so I wouldn't have possibility of freezing pipes when I was in Colorado. And I realized I hadn't changed that fuel filter on the engine since before I went to Colorado and before I went out to the tribe last year and met with everyone. I haven't really done that much to it because it's like, oh, I just did it. It wasn't that long ago. But it was like 10,000 miles ago, so it probably needed to be done. So I went ahead and changed that out. But this one, what it sounds like it is it sounds like there's algae on my diesel. My diesel tanks. If it has algae in my diesel tanks, which it very much could, they could, what is it, because it was low and I wasn't running anything in it, I just now got the heater working on it, and so it could have been, I just got algae in my tanks, it clogged my fuel filters in the tanks, which there is a mod to delete those, and they said if the thing they'd do it, but they're going to charge me to drop the tank and maybe pull all the fuel out, and that's $130 plus whatever it takes to drop the tank. I have an access. That's what this is for. This is my access for it. And now I'm trying to meet with Jason and Jen. They're traveling out west too. I also have a friend that I'm trying to do work for, but she says if I can just come look at it for an hour, I might be able to just get it working. So I'm gonna go ahead and try to get this off. You see there's like metal there. This is a little groove. This whole thing slides out of the way, and my tank's right there, and my fuel access is right there, so I don't have to drop the tank to do the work. So that's what I'm going to do. I'll bring you back in a bit. One last quick thing. I gotta go move the branches. I'm touching the branches right now. I'm at my friend's place. I ate something for the day the first time, and oh yeah, all that went on. Pretty sure it's a bad sensor connection. Now I gotta go mess with my connection there because I'm pretty sure they unplugged it, because now my ABS and all the lights I had on before came on, and it's like there's a loose connection somewhere. So I'm thinking it's all in that little cluster there, not on top of the sensor. It's in the cluster, like the cluster got removed. I didn't watch them work, so I'm guessing they pulled the cluster off to everything, so I'm gonna have to go make sure that they're all working and making good connection again. I'll deal with that later. It's all right. I mean, it's running good now, even if it has a little overflow on oil. I couldn't get into anyone that had options just to pull the oil out. Something about whenever I get nervous and I'm tired and I haven't ate, I start word vomiting, and yeah. So everything went fine. It started writing. I mean, they fixed it, or something fixed it, either last night or today. Something fixed it, but the stutter's gone. It gets up to 60. This feels like it's pulling hard, and it's still using a lot of fuel. But I realize now that the wind's blowing really hard right now. We're getting like 50 mile an hour straight east wind gust, and that's probably why it feels like it has no power now. It's getting up to 60, and that's all I need. 55 with the truck is really as fast as I should be going, sometimes 60, but with the truck and the pulling, it kind of makes it want to do that little not quite fishtail, but you could tell that it'd be really easy to get a resonance going if the way the wind blows. So I might readjust some weight in the truck too. I'm not really sure if that's it or what's actually going on, but I'm here, I'm safe. We made it an hour and a half from hometown down here to Oklahoma City, where my friend's at. One night I did want them checking it out. It does go over. It still feels like it lacks power, and it seems like it's using a lot of gas, but it also could just be the wind, and the wind is blowing quite strongly. You can see it right there, blowing really strongly. So I am sitting on quite a angle. I'm just going to mellow out, then I'm going to mess with it. There was a bad last night whenever I was looking. It looked like my IPR, not IPR, but the mass airflow, not absolute airflow or absolute pressure sensor, had a looseness on it, and I moved. For some reason it came off. I'm gonna get in there and look like maybe the little petcott that slides onto was loose. I'm gonna put some silicone around that, and then I'm gonna replace it with a silicone line going up and put a clamp on it. Make sure that's not a source of the problem, since I'm gonna pull all that. I'll pull the whole intake off and everything else and just do a general inspection on top of the motor and go from there. All right, later. I think I might as well do this before the weather turns south. Anyhow, I went over. I replaced the what was that, absolute pressure APR sensor line with some silicone hose that I had for vacuum. It's rated for vacuum. This kind of shakes down here, but the old line's nice and stiff, and it looks like it's getting brittle. It'll be a problem in the future. But since I'm having reading problems, I want to verify that there's fluid inside. And look at that. That's down my sensor thing. That's why it's not sitting in there very good. It's hitting that, and it's sitting there vibrating, telling me I'm low on fluid, low on oil, no oil, caution, no oil, which is freaking me out, which caused me to put a lot of oil in it. I have a solution for getting it out without draining the whole system too. It cost me a fuel filter, but that's better than draining the whole system. Anyhow, the whole way down here, I thought I had oil problems. I didn't have oil problems before, and I was freaking out. So they did fix the problem. I can do 60 and 75. It's just the wind and everything else. So they did do work. I can see it in here. It says I'm going back and over some of the spots that I'd seen earlier that I thought needed to be addressed. So I'm gonna pull that out of there, and I'm gonna make sure there's fluid in the high pressure reservoir. This, just so you know, this is what controls your oil pressure on the gauge in there, and also says whether you're out of oil or have oil in it. So I am going to have to go remove the oil I got in it, but I'm at a friend's place, so I should be able to do that now. Old friend, really old friend. But I've known them for, what, since 2006. I got old friends everywhere apparently. I need to stop stressing and just find me a place to sit down and fix stuff, because that's what I need to do. I was overstressed earlier. Anyhow, let's see if we can. I have a new one on order tomorrow, but if this fixes it, I'm so tempted to beeline it. That's a lot of driving though. 19 hours straight to get to Quartzsite from here to be there for New Year's, which is tomorrow's New Year's Eve. So I'd have to hit really hard. I haven't slept good the last couple nights. We'll see. I might just hang out with friends here, help them with their stuff. I only get in trouble whenever I'm rushing anyhow. I know I shouldn't rush and cancel that order on this one. Now I know what's going on once I get that out of there. Alright, thought I'd share. Alright, one last thing. I get the thing in there. See that black stuff? That means there's oil in there. And it's within half an inch of the top, so that's doing good. Which is running. They say 7.3s will not run if they're actually low on oil, so they said that it will die because of how the hydraulic pump and everything works. And I just drove it here like it was working. It's just I was fighting wind and everything else. It felt like something more was going on, but they fixed it. I can give it to them. They fixed it. They said it was just raised up a little bit. So they torqued it down. How much farther? Oh, they went quite a ways farther than, yeah. I mean, I guess It could have been a clogged fuel filter because the day before, yesterday, before I got in, I went ahead and changed out the fuel filter. And it could have been a clogged fuel filter. I was like, oh, I just did that. But I was thinking back, that was at least 10 to 15,000 miles, which is about their service limit, ago on it. And I've done a lot of traveling, a lot of fuel through it since I've been in it last time. So yeah, it probably needed to be done. I just didn't count all the miles that I went out to the desert last year and up to back and forth to Colorado. I actually put miles on it. So anyhow, I'm gonna put that back in there and we'll get this back together and see if this, oh yeah, I'm also going to tighten this one down because I'm getting weird things and it feels loose on there. It might not be anything, but I'm just going to hit it. Well, it locks down now. It's actually locked on there. I can cancel both those orders I made earlier. I could technically leave today. That was one of the big ones. I just need to force myself to sit down and calm down anytime I'm having a freak out moment. I'll look down here. This is my water temperature sensor. The thing, it doesn't work. I have not had it work once in the cab. I thought it was just running cold all the time, but it does not work. But every time I plug it in, it blows the fuse or blows the gauge in there. So I'm thinking there's a short somewhere in it. And it's underneath everything, so I need to trace it back to the source or just run a new line. It might not hurt just to run a new line back to the cab. And this, then I'd have water temperature and I wouldn't have to worry about that. I can keep an eye on that. Otherwise, I was just going to run a DB 20 something 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 digital temperature sensor. It's technically within its range. It kind of tops out at the temperature range. But it uses a different water temperature for the engine itself to keep track of. Same thing with the oil pressure too. It has its own separate oil pressure gauge, I think. Don't quote me on that for sure, but anyhow, let's just put you back in there and look around. That thing, the first thing in front of you right there is the air heater on the 7.3s. That's the intake going into the turbo. I could hear the turbo running, so I know that's running. It still sounds like it might be missing a little bit, but I think that'll go away once we drive it and we have all this other stuff kind of taken care of. So we're just going to call that good and go back together. We'll test drive it a little later and make sure everything runs okay. Okay, so I paid a mechanic to work on my rig to check everything over, and they said all they need to do is tighten down the fuel rail or the fuel pump cover or fuel filter cover. Sorry, I'm tired and I'm dealing with the same problem. I pulled over in Clinton, Oklahoma on the 40 West, and I put a fuel pump in. I bought a $200 fuel pump to put in it, and I got down here about to the town of Foss to some gas station, and it's either fuel in line, but it's still doing the same thing. I was hoping the thing is, but here's the other thing. I've noticed a lot of oil on top of the alternator, so I'm thinking maybe I got a leak in one of my supply lines to my injectors. And I overflowed it the other day because I thought, because the gauge was doing that thing, I thought it was low on oil, which I literally just paid to have it fixed. But ended up being a loose connection on that, and we got that fixed. I think I shared that with you all. But so I'm looking at the, as I'm dealing with this, I'm looking right here, and this is the low pressure into the high pressure pump, and then it goes into the injector pump, which breaks it up higher. If one of these got a leak in it, they could spray oil out and they could cut the pressure down enough that maybe one of my injectors is not actuating here. So I might tomorrow look in there and do a closer inspection of these here. I'm not doing it tonight, I'm too tired. But that's where I'm currently at. Annoyed that I paid someone $100 to tighten down a fuel thing that was loose yesterday because I thought it was in the fuel filter. I can hear it not tapping or not engaging. In between where I put it in and got it here, it almost left me stranded on the highway. I don't like doing that at night, and I'm tired, and so I'll look that up tomorrow or tonight, and we'll go from there. Alright, it's morning. I have been messing with this. I woke up at like 8 o'clock in this parking lot that I randomly pulled in last night because I don't know if I told you or not, but as I was going down the highway at 60, it bucked on me big time, and then I lost all power in my rig, and I was like, oh, maybe I should have stayed around there longer, but there's not much to do there. No parts were going to show up. So I was like, I pulled off on the side of the highway, tried to stop and restart, and it started back up, and I just kind of babied it to the next exit, which is where I stayed the night. It still has that weird vibration in the motor, so I don't know what's going on with it. I went ahead and got a monitoring system so I can monitor it with a laptop as I'm going down. Tell me more. What I think I just got air in the lines. I think it was my fuel pump, and because I got actually more power on my engine last night after I replaced the fuel pump in that parking lot than I did the whole other time coming down here. What I think the bucking is right now is just air in the lines. It sounds better. The engine does sound way better than it did. I think there's still just a little bit of air in the lines. So I got up this morning and popped that fuel filter up a little bit higher and let some fuel come out of it. It's sitting on top of my engine right now. We'll see about how that goes. But right now I've just been idling here for about 30 minutes to 40 minutes. It died twice on me whenever I first initially started it up. And I might have found a shorted wire. No, coolant tips or sensors still don't work. I'm probably just going to see if I can make it to Elk City and then just have them do whatever test. Although this might allow me to do a buzz test on here, and that's what I'm kind of more curious about, because I want to know if I have a bad wiring harness on my intake valves or my valve cover, because they said that can cause it too if I'm not getting good connection. Although I will say I've had the best start I've ever had on this. It started in like 3 seconds. Even after changing the IPR, it still took 5 seconds. So I did have the best fuel start ever. 3 seconds all the time. So I'm just letting this idle here and to see if the air disappears from it. And I'm about to take off and just see it take Route 66, the back road, Route 66, all the way over to Elk City, and we'll see how it goes. Go from there. And then I'll be running the computer monitor on the whole way, so I just pick up some information, or at least I can look over and see what it's doing. It doesn't monitor the fuel pressure. I wish it does. That will be a later mod, and we will probably also be doing the fuel bowl delete, provided it's not more than $300 to do. I've seen them as high as $600 and $1,200 for those, and it's like, that's crazy. And they don't look like they're that complicated to make the plumbing, so I think people are just ripping you off if you have that much in it. But there's still a little click, 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 click noise. I think that's just something loose. That, or it could this also be a wire harness shorting out and I'm hearing the short. But the only way to find that out is to do a buzz test. So I think I'll just call a professional mechanic. Well, no quotes. I will call a professional mechanic and see if I can just get in and have them check it out. Yeah. All right. I'll record this. I finally found a mechanic's place that would work. I went to 1, 2, 3. Yeah, fourth one was the charm this time. So I've been to 4 mechanics. They said they can work on it Monday, which today is Friday evening. So I came here to the state park, Elk City State Park. I was hoping it's Corps of Engineer, but nope, it's the state park. Darn. It costs $25 a night here, but it does have a decent view. Nice lake, sun shining in. Boondock, I did have permission to park at the spot and boondock there, but I was down to 50% because I've been running the heater a lot because it's cold. And so I elected to come to a park because I know I'm not going to be bugged or harassed here, and if I do want to do inside projects, I can here. There was an RV parked down the street from the mechanic spot, but there's like $49 a night, and I need 3 nights, or at least 2 nights, and they specifically said no working on any projects in their park. So I would probably get in trouble because I have projects planned. And well, they said it might be the exhaust gas tube, or the mechanic said it might be the exhaust gas tube or the PCM, power control module, which I am going to look into that, because if it's something I can pull apart and resolder together and fix with a few components, I will. But I also might just go up there and set up overnight nearby in the spot they said I could park in, but yeah, we'll go from there. Hopefully something gets fixed. They had to get a different scan tool to read it and do the buzz test, as they call it. They said all the injectors sound nice and strong, but the initial test came up saying it's the exhaust back pressure valve or sensor, and so I ain't touching that while it's hot at all, but I might mess with it a little bit later, but I cannot do that in an RV park. I may not even be able to do it where I'm at. I'd much rather pay the mechanics to do it, but I also am on a budget, and so we'll see what happens, right? Anyhow, 3 days hanging out, I can fix the tire on the bike and go right around and go into town and do stuff. It's been over 10 years since I've been in this town, so a lot has changed. It's grown quite a bit. But right now I'm making me some black beans and rice so I can eat something of health and decency. Last night I had a salad and that was it. And so, itch my nose. Maybe edit some videos since I have power at the lake here, which needs to be done because Sunday's coming up soon, so I'll release a video. You all get to see all the fun that I've been up to. Maybe work on that other project that I've been working on the side, see if we can get some controls going in here where we're not just flipping like switches in the thing. So there's stuff to do, and since I'm kind of stuck here anyhow, it's fine. And then I can go out in the truck and explore. Oh. It broke. There we go, we're fixing to go. In that case, I always have travel angst. Like, oh boy, what's gonna break down next? What am I gonna have to fix on the road? Does it matter? No, it doesn't. We're still gonna go. So let's go to get going.